Hello and welcome to another episode of Supercoach Insider. My name is Ben.
And I'm Chris.
And
I'm
Swizzy.
You forgot.
I was not forgetting.
Brought to you by Venter Roof, our local ventilation experts. What up?
Yes, brought to you by Venter Roof. Before we move on, SC Insider 100, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. You can also find us on the YouTube. Chris, search for a Supercoach Insider.
Yeah, YouTube. I think we're at 900 now. So like 100 more people, and we can start collecting $2 scratchies. So, and who knows what could happen from there, I can't be held responsible for what I might do.
Getting busy. Also find us on Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes, the works. Now, this is a little bit of an impromptu, guys. We've got a lockouts happening here. Apparently the Lions and the Suns got stuck on the tarmac for 45 minutes and then gone back into waiting for their plane. So hopefully they've made it out in time, boys. So it'll be interesting. COVID, Swizz, you're going to go watch the Richmond play at the, was it your favourite location, isn't it, Marvel, Thursday night?
Well, there's some talk that it's going to be at Marvel and that. I was hoping they'd just throw it at Punt Road and,
You can just watch from literally driving past. That's all I need to see. Another training run, is it? Or
So how did you fare? How did you fare this week, Swizz?
Oh, it's fucking shit house.
He's really confident this week.
Putting it bluntly and that, all of the friggin' guys that I was trying to antipod fucking went berserk. So, I still got 23-25. So it wasn't horrible, but a few people obviously above me did really well, so that dropped me back down to 430th.
Yeah, I think this is the first time I've been ahead of you, Swizz, in a long time.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, look, we'll go through Ben and I's team in a little potty after this, but needless to say, I beat Ben again, so that's about it, only by very minimal margins.
Well, some might call it luck. I'd like to call it, luck, I guess. So what?
He's got a new one. Look at this guy. He has 3 days off of work, and all of a sudden he comes up with some new.
We're about to, and obviously we're hitting the esteemed question.
But why male models?
Model, idiot. Well done. So I suppose it starts with Grundy or no Grundy. So let's go there. He absolutely came back with a thunder. A lot of people traded him out, hoping that he would drop in cash. And it turns out he only dropped, 15K, guys? So, Swizz, do you have Grundy? And if not, how do you plan to get him back in?
I do not at the moment. His break even is still through the roof. It's 153.
Mm-hmm.
And I am very lucky that I still have Highmore just killing us at the moment. So Highmore's break even's now minus 54. So one more good week from Highmore, and I can go straight Highmore to Grundy. So
that's your plan.
I'm 1 week away from that.
That sounds pretty good to me.
I unfortunately also do not have Grundy. I did the old switcheroo tradies, but and you may have noticed if you follow me on Twitter, which all 70 people that do follow me on Twitter would have noticed. I tweeted out Bryce Mitchell and said, please, pretty please, sir, can you let me know ASAP what you think Grundy's going to be worth, and Nathan Murphy, who is my trade out option, because I needed to work out exactly how much cash I had based on the fact that I actually wanted to get Kieran Briggs in as the trade-in, but I also might have needed that extra 20K to go to 102K rookie. So it ended up, with 10 minutes to go, he ended up tweeting out some price projections. Grundy smashed through 130 like it was going out of fashion. I was just like, oh, whatever. All right, fine. I just won't do it. So, and I ended up having to take a 102K rookie. So I took Sam Durham as a defender forward. So defender mid, so that I could trade in. I moved Bianco to the defense, which I did, and then I'm able to actually get Grundy in with 2K to spare this week.
Just
2K. And I'll be trading Murphy and I don't even know who the other trade ad is. Waitman, whatever his name is.
Jeez, you'd think you'd have enough weeks to get that one right.
Yeah, so 2K. Yeah,
yes.
I'm scraping that in. Yeah.
Yeah, Grundy did go very well, but you know who went a little bit better there, Chris?
I don't want to talk about it.
You don't want to talk about Dane Zorko?
Oh, yeah, no, I do. Yeah, actually, I really want to talk about Dane Zorko.
Serves me right. Hashtag blessed the bastard.
Wait, imagine blessing someone and then trading him out of your team. What are you doing?
Yeah, imagine trading him out and then all the good work he did over the buys of not having Dane Zorko has just completely come back to royally fuck me. So, thank you to Frogger. Hashtag fuck you. Good banter there, my friend. Check out Twitter if you're not sure about what we're talking about here. So you put up a little SC Elites, and that doesn't even sound like me, but look, I'll take it.
Take it on the chin.
And obviously me holding off, not getting Toby Green, not getting Hall, not getting all these other players, through the buys because I was holding out for Shai fucking Bolton. What the absolute hell? I actually thought he was going to be out. I was like, I have to get him now, otherwise he might be outpriced, and if he goes up in price, I'm screwed. So then what do? I bring in Bolton for MP.
I was talking to Swizz actually during that game. I thought he must have been injured. Like, why are they playing him, first of all, such low time on ground, and why are they playing him so much up forward as opposed to on the ball? Like,
Swizz, are you upset, mate, at Richmond?
Mate, it's cricket season. I was playing winter cricket on the weekend. Why are we talking footy? Mate, I tell you what, it was. For those who follow me on Facebook, I put the post up of the 10 games I've been to in person, the worst 10 that I've witnessed, and that is now the new number one. And that includes the fucking prelim where fucking Mason Cox went berserk. That includes Trent Cotchin kicking the wrong fucking way at Port Adelaide, because there was no fucking positive in that game watching it. It was freezing. It was cold. There was no one there. It was as fucking shit as you could get.
Hey,
so
Swizz.
that's my little rant this week.
Swizz, were you there for this?
Was it Grundy? It's Grundy!
Yes. Were you? Tell us you were. You were definitely there.
Yeah.
I watched as two little kids just cried in front of me, their Richmond jackets on, and I'm just laughing. But
Right in front of me!
It was right in front of me. That was great.
I was actually, because that one, I think Darcy Moore kicked it into him, or it might be my check. Whoever kicked the ball and where Grundy then kicked that goal, I was actually on the fence abusing the person, saying, "No, you can't kick this. Yeah, you're fucking no chance." And of course, kicks it up, and Grundy fucking kicks the goal.
Yeah, I couldn't. I was at the. I was pretty much on the halfback flank from where that goal was kicked, and the just behind the goals went absolutely berserk. And I'm like, what just happened? I can't see it. What just happened? I'm trying to look at the screen. I'm trying to look everywhere. I'm like, did we just win? I think we just won. Did we just win? What happened? I'm
awesome. Pretty sure there's footage somewhere of me abusing whoever was taking the kick that fucking, and then just watch him turn and fucking give it to me. So yeah, so that was good as well.
It's like Happy Gilmore. He's like, did it go in? Did it go? I didn't see it. Did it go in? All right.
Oh, the band's well done.
Yes, this is the most long-winded introduction ever.
It is.
Look, at the moment, some people should be looking to field and fill their sides. So I think from here on, are there any possible downgrade options? I think Richmond have a possible rookie this week, Swizz, coming in.
Do we have another one freaking coming in? Benny Miller must be the one coming in for Bolter.
In defence.
I think it's just going to be he's a lockdown defender, so it's not somebody I'd be looking at. Our recent track record of rookies, for those who went early on Samson Ryan, would have been really rewarded with that -1. But the positive is he's meant to be playing again for some reason. So, and I feel like Ben Miller's not going to be a relevant Supercoach person as much as he's going to get game time with Bolter out. I think he'll be looking to dish off any ball that he gets to Boston and Baker back there, and also Short, because they're the people we like to have the ball in their hand.
Yeah, it will be interesting. It will be interesting to see if the two injuries in defence actually free up someone like Short, because I think Vlosten will have to play a little bit more accountable, given that both so Bolter and Broad are both injured, right? So you'd think that you think that they'll have Miller and Asprey come in, because obviously Asprey was he a laid out last week? Was he? He was.
I don't think he was laid out. I just don't think he was ready yet.
Okay,
I could be wrong, but I don't think he was picked originally.
He had been playing, more of that sort of forward ruck swing, hadn't he? So, at the start of the season, is he more likely to go back now with the emergence of CCJ? And
Asprey will definitely go back. So Asprey will be full back. I'd expect Miller to play centre half back. Okay. That's where he's been playing in the seconds for the last couple of years.
Yep.
And then probably play Lawson as that third. He's tall, with then your Bakers and Shorts really running out the ball. Because we've got, really 4 half-backs in a way. But Lawson can obviously play tall, short, whatever.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to also see what they do with Hawley, because he's looked really down the last few weeks. It's always my thing for when he goes in the Ramadan, he's the greatest player in the world and that. So, and when he comes out of it, he starts to struggle. But obviously, age and that is a big factor now, and it's harder to get through the season. You always nearly it's worth jumping on him for those 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah,
and then afterwards, moving him on.
Go back to Short. Yep. Well, actually, Shorty looked absolutely amazing. If he used the ball better, it would have been 120, 130 easily. And he's unfortunate the way that is. But moving on to the next rookie.
Yeah, there's not many rookies, to be honest, guys.
Let's discuss Ned Reeves, obviously, because...
Reeves is the new Highmore. He's the guy that sits there on the top of the rookie cash cow list and not playing. So Hawks won again, so I can't really see them getting Reeves in. I think he was also one of the VFL part of their Box Hill team.
Part of the Box Hill team that's now in quarantine for 2 weeks?
Well, I think they're on a precautionary... They weren't forced to, but they played Aspley, and Aspley were in part of the quarantining thing. So I think it was a precautionary thing. I think it's their 3rd day lockdown now, just in case, because if something does happen, at least they've already kind of gone through that procedure. So it'll be interesting there. Highmore, imagine getting rid of this guy at 170k, and he goes and hits 300 after this week. So kudos to those who kept him.
Of my life.
I know.
Yeah.
Apart from that, Briggs, Foley, these guys were, they're still topping the list, but they've already played 3 games. The only one that I'd probably even say is a possible is Jeremy Sharp. He's 141k, played 1 game out of 76. I don't really recommend it, though. He's a little bit more priced, and he's usually an outside player, isn't he? Like a winger kind of type?
Yeah, he's very quick from memory, because it's not his first season, right?
No, second.
Yeah, so he had a couple of games last year with an underwhelming performance.
They got him in, I think, last year. They were the one they traded, I think, their high pick for Geelong, and Geelong got that pick. Look, they expected more from last year, but apparently Sharp was just a bit blunt.
Oh, no.
Well done, sir. Well done. Look,
I think you're missing Lockie Bramble there from the Hawks, the 102k midfielder.
Bramble is, he is down here. He has played 2. So why is he not high up on the list?
His break-even's not great. And he only had 45, but he got the last 2 goal assists to win them the game last week. I think you would be hard-pressed to find a guy that's less locked into that team next week than the guy that provided the last 2 goal assists to win a game. And I think Jai Newcomb also played very well, so I think he will retain his spot too, which is good news for those that obviously have Newcomb, even though his scoring hasn't been great the last 2 weeks, but he was very serviceable. So the one that I'm a little bit worried about, obviously with all of the mids returning, is Luke Edwards. So obviously a lot of people would have jumped on Edwards last week. He, unfortunately, in terms of scoring output, in terms of role, it's just not there with all of the ins that they had coming back. So I do feel bad for him, because I do think that he's probably going to be out, if not this week, then give him maybe 1 or 2 more weeks and he's gone. So I don't think he's going to provide.
What we talked about last week, mate, exactly with the players coming back in. But what we got wrong was how much they got smashed. But we did say if they did lose a game or 2, that, or them fighting for that 8th position, he could find himself, or anyone who doesn't perform in those teams, find themselves out very quickly. Where the Hawks, on the other hand, are always going to play those rookies, but they're winning at the same time as well. So, there's going to be no reason to change them. And as Ben said as well, they've got dealing with their possible COVID issues of that. So you don't see the Hawks making any change. So definitely your Brambles and whatever are much better options, even if, because somebody like Edwards I can't see lasting too much longer after last week.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, let's quickly rattle off just a couple on each position, each line, I think, as you're finishing your team. Jordan Ridley, we touched on last week, 470k, had another good, impressive week, boys, scored 111.
He's back.
He is back.
He's 100% back. I think if you don't have him, he's your number 1 trade-in target.
And he's still cheap. He could rattle off, people that are 550k. He could actually challenge them. So I think he is a good option. Even if you have Laird in that sort of defensive swing, I think for value for money, you won't find many good midfielders under 5. So
absolutely, and you probably won't find anyone that's going to average you 110 for 470k in the midfield. So there's that. I mean, same thing you could be said really about Whitfield. He's still actually fairly cheap. He just, honestly, I watched the entire game. That's a 140 game that just went astray because he didn't actually use the ball well. He had a lot of turnovers by foot. He was ineffective in the short passes to trying to make passes that, like, they were on, but there was a player in between that just got a hand in there to deflect the ball and so on, and therefore was ineffective disposals. And that, because he's the guy that I don't have, and I'm essentially barracking against him. Every time, no one went within 5 meters of him, and that is not a way to beat GWS, but Hawks managed to do it. So well done to them.
Well, yeah, GWS showed up first quarter, goes, geez, this is easy, and then they just gave up.
Pretty much. I also noticed that the Dan Houston, so he scored well, played a lot more midfield time. Literally played, I would say, 80 to 90% on time on the ball. Sometimes that's going to be positive for his scoring, and sometimes that's going to be negative. In the last quarter, when they were trying to save the game, he was moved behind as the 7th defender. So that's going to be beneficial. But what I do notice with Houston is that he's often the defensive mid from a stoppage as opposed to an attacking midfielder. So he's not necessarily the guy that they palm down to. And he'll take the attacking or the offensive play going the other way. So he's obviously having a lot of tackles and a lot of impact around the ground. Yep. I just prefer him behind the ball.
His last 4 rounds are 97 or above to his last 4 scores. But again, for 8,000 more or just less than, you go Ridley.
Yep.
That's pretty much interesting there. So
and Maynard had a very, very good week. So it'll be interesting to see if he can continue it. The thing that is also helping him is, like, who else is taking kickouts there? So that's going to raise his floor, because previously, obviously, it was Jeremy Howe and Darcy Moore that were essentially vying for that primary kickout role, and Maynard really is the only one left. So, yeah.
Speaking of a little bit of left field here, boys, Taylor Adams broke even a 72, 464K, came back with a 110. Would you be tempted at a 464K there, Chris?
Made a paper mache. He'll be out in 3 weeks, mate.
Yeah.
Paper mache.
Honestly,
so you're calling him Patch Adams then?
Patch. That's a good one. I respect that.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, look, Adams isn't a guy you want to take even for how many rounds is left. Adams is a guy that if he's still 480K and you need someone for 4 weeks, maybe you take a punt. Like, you're really scraping the barrel, you know?
Yeah, that's fair.
What do you think, Swizz?
Are we still on about defenders, or just on about Taylor Adams? Taylor Adams is a no. Yeah, Taylor Adams is a no for me. Everything you've said.
Rank the 4 guys that we've just listed. So Ridley, Whitfield, Braden Maynard, and Dan Houston. How would you rate them? Yeah,
Ridley number 1. I didn't mind Maynard, and I talked about it last week, depending on how they do it. So I'm going to put him at. So you said Whitfield as well, didn't you?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So Whitfield 1, Ridley 2, Maynard 3, and Houston 4. Yep. I'm a big fan of Whitfield, so I know he's a 50K more, so that you might not have that luxury out there, but I'm a big fan of Whitfield.
Now here's a sneaky one, because I've been throwing this up, but it would literally burn the rest of my trades, because now I'm running on dead street. Sam Dougherty, his role change has killed his scoring ability. Now, he's still sometimes just behind the ball, but he's mainly been played up on the wing. And it's just not conducive towards those 120s or 110 above or consistent scoring that we've seen. He scored a 67 on the weekend and is just tanking in price. He's at 472K. Is he a luxury trade? Is he someone that you go, well, if you don't have Ridley, one trade, bang, and you pull that trigger now?
If you have the trades, yes.
Yeah, I don't want to answer such hypotheticals because I've burnt through my trades like midnight oil.
I would if I had the trades, there is no chance I'd be keeping Sam Dougherty. But unfortunately, it looks like I'm going to have to ride that freaking train all the way into fucking $300,000
Mate, I might even have to keep CCJ for the rest of the year. So I don't know what your problem is.
Yes, he's I don't know, Doc is unfortunate. And we've seen this before, right? We saw this even last year. Great first half of the year, completely tanked in the second half, was averaging, 75 second half of the year or something stupid.
Oh, he did horrible.
And he's doing the team thing now. However, what happened with Nick Newman last week? So
dropped and sub.
Yeah.
Omitted, and then he was a sub, and then he came out and played pretty well.
And then went behind the ball and he got 111 in 3 quarters or something.
Yeah. Sounds like Newman, though, doesn't it?
Fucking annoying. Frustrating is what I'd say.
All right, well, let's move on to the midfield. Big one, still Lockie Neal, 575k. Is it worth the stretch to bring him in, boys? Banged up shoulder, though. We'll wait and see. Are you too concerned if you're an owner, or would you bring him in, though, with a bit of a hit?
Look, here's the issue with it. I expected this score. So, like, for me, the score doesn't do anything in terms of negative towards me wanting to bring him in if I didn't have him already. The score's irrelevant to me because that's what I pretty much thought he was going to be able to score this week because we knew he was going to get a hard tag from Mark O'Connor. And yeah, going through that. He gets the shoulder injury. He comes off. Everyone thinks his shoulder's popped out or it's a subluxation of the shoulder or whatever it might be. Commentators go on about it. You see freaking at halftime, they do a report on it and they say, yep, this is what's happened. Fagan comes down in the postgame and says, yeah, none of that happened. It was just a jarring of the shoulder and he's fine and he'll play next week. Now, that's all good, except it wouldn't be the first time that he's completely lied to everyone about an injury to Lockie Neal.
But you don't say that.
And it's just like, do I believe you or what do I do here?
Hey, mate, Brisbane, we are a beacon of truth. I don't know what you're on about, Chris.
What do you reckon, Swizz?
I'm more worried now that with everything that's going on with you guys with COVID up there now. It's a bit funny. It's shoe on the other foot, but sending my love out to the rest of the country. But yeah, we don't know exactly what's going to be happening with Brisbane, where they're going to be the next 3 or 4 weeks. It's kind of changed everything.
Can I also suggest that it may not actually be just Brisbane that's affected here because there is a big. Well, the media are pumping this up that hubs are going to be back at least at very minimal for the short term. And the idea being that they'll try and get more games in. So what we saw last year with a game every 4 or 5 days could be a real reality over the next 4 weeks.
They did say that was last resort, though.
However,
and
they say it's last resort, but Brisbane...
Yeah, but Ben, they have also said they only want teams in lockdown for 3 weeks or well into hubs.
Well, it's going to depend on how things pan out. I mean, we had 2 cases today, and they're worried about the Delta. I think because there's widespread travel and it's holidays as well, so I think they've literally packed it in. And Western Australia only had a little bit as well, so I think the conservative states there could hold them in good stead to free it up again shortly. I mean, one thing's for sure, we're definitely no New South Wales right now.
Yeah, well...
They had like 18 or 13. Like, oh, that was a great day.
WA have entered. I'm pretty sure they're in lockdown as well, aren't they?
Yep. And Northern Territory.
Even South Australia have restrictions on travel for everyone. And then obviously we're in lockdown until at least the weekend, probably until next week. Sydney are definitely in lockdown for at least 2 weeks. I think the only solution right now moving forward is probably going to be a hub in Melbourne.
Yeah, for a few weeks' time. Yeah,
it'll be 3, 4, probably 3 weeks. But what they'll try and do is get 4 or 5 games out.
No, I disagree.
Then they'll take a break. I honestly think this is what will happen, and this was talked about on Footy Classified as well, is that they'll take a break after that and then resume, the 3 games of the season. Or they could even just say, oh, well, we'll cut the season short and start playing finals.
Doubt it.
Cut 10 teams out of the competition. It makes it a little bit easier.
Mate, that's all revenue. They need to keep up games and stuff as well. It's not the same way as it was last year.
That is a consideration.
I think they're just they'll play their normal few games and then something will happen. A state will free up and then they'll move and they'll play between, like they have previously. So I don't think it's that bad.
So how good is this though? We are all
off topic. Yes, we are.
No, full premium. And
right.
Let's say we do get something like this that happens. We're going to get like 5 trades again.
Hey, maybe CCJ can get out of my team.
Dougherty can fuck himself straight over to Whitfield.
Yeah, no, because it'll be Supercoach finals and something will happen and people will be like, what's going on? We're playing every 4 days and my player's not named. And they're like, here, 5 trades, everyone.
Hey, look, this is an honest reflection of the state of Supercoach. Their solution to everything is just everyone just get some more trades, which is the opposite of what really Supercoach is built on. It's supposed to be about trade management. And look, I don't like it personally, so I'm against extra trades.
Look, I haven't managed my trade trail at all.
More trade scenario.
Yeah.
Unlimited trades.
I don't know. I've got 2 trades right now, so maybe some extra trades wouldn't go astray is what I'm saying.
Probably not. So back on track here, boys. I'm funny how I have to try and Swizz, mate. Get your shit together, right?
Sorry, we did well.
Lockie Neal is number 1 in possibly if you rely on his shoulder. Otherwise, I think Sammy Walsh is still chipping away. 545k. He is a great option for those that have a little bit of cash. I think he's definitely underrated. He's probably the highest averaging player around that price bracket.
Well, I mean, that 131 as well, just to put that into perspective, I think in the first quarter he had 11 touches and was on like 45 DT for like 18 Supercoach. He just used it like appallingly in the first quarter and still pulled a 131. So that could have been anything, man. It could have been a 160, 170 game. He played so well on the weekend, and I was very, very impressed with Sam Walsh because, you know, as you saw, Cripps did one thing that made the highlight reel, and that's about it. That was his entire game.
Yeah, when he ran 35 metres. He had a good day, though. My concern...
you go keep going on Walsh, mate.
Oh, no, I was sidetracking here, actually. I just had a quick little look. With injuries, and we spoke about this previously, Sloan apparently might have done something to his finger, could be out for the rest of the year, which could see the big drop-off from Laird as well, boys, as we saw previously with when Sloan's out of the team, Laird doesn't score, and there's that direct correlation between the two. He needs that big body mid-in. Maybe if Crouch comes back in at some point, it might help him, but, you know.
That's the one I was about to bring up. Apart from a couple of people who jumped on Simpkin on our advice last week, but I was actually going to say Benny Keys from Adelaide now with Sloan out. Don't know who else takes those points. And he just pulled out that 134 on the weekend, and he's been scoring really well. So just as a real pod person
averaging
there,
29 disposals over there in Adelaide. That's not a slouch number at all. So well done to Benny Keys. But again, we wrote him off, so didn't we?
No, well, again, it's playing in the position that you are suited to, and there was no inside mid positions at Brisbane. He couldn't get a gig.
And congratulations
so he goes to Adelaide. Well done.
Jared Lyons as well on extending his contract with the Lions.
Mate, that's so good. That's so good it makes me forget about Dane Zorko. Actually, no, we can't say that. We can't say that. No, doing the dirty after I blessed him, so...
That's true.
Apologies.
So anyone else in the midfield, mate, that you've seen, Swizz, that you are interested in, mate?
Well, as I said, Simpkin, a few jumped on listening last week, but if there's ever a Tasmanian team in the next couple of years and Simpkin goes there, he'd be my first pick player because he scores in Tassie just through the friggin' roof. He doesn't score in Melbourne, so don't jump on him now unless they announce that North have to go play more games in Tassie. A couple other just left field ones I don't mind. I talked about, and he's a defender, but he's also a mid, about, I always fuck up his name, Blizzard from Geelong. That just because he's been playing that ruck role and that, and he scored that. Like, as bad as Geelong were last week, he was by far their best player, so... that's another left field. I'm just trying to think of more value because of I know a lot of people are struggling with cash.
Like Travis Bokey, 517K is a value pick.
And then Travis Boak was the other one that we mentioned last week. And so his first half he got tagged and really did nothing, but that second half where he scored 100.
Well, I think you weren't watching the game. You've got him right, and you weren't watching the game, and you saw the first half score and went like, and probably turned it off.
Yeah, so I'm going to say, most people know for some reason, I play winter cricket in the cold Melbourne here, so I do miss some of the Saturday afternoon games. And when we were changing innings, I did have a look at the score and that, and was about to throw up, and then went back out and then watched. I managed to watch the last quarter, and I was rapt to see how dominant he was there.
Good thing with Port though as well is because there's COVID free basically in Adelaide. If there are games that do actually come in from Melbourne to Adelaide, they should have a lot more home games. There, depending on capacity and that kind of thing.
The SA government, don't get me wrong, they're already tight now on teams flying in, and I think they're going to be even tighter. I mean,
no, I think they're allowing Victorian teams to come in. That's why Lions and Suns. Well, Lions were going to. That's why Lions were going to go to Melbourne yesterday, and that's how when you were in trouble today. When it was like, oh, Lions are told to pack your bags and get out today. It's like, well, yeah,
they may have to have the two hubs just purely from having enough venues.
Yeah, I think they'll have to play travel
games over however many days. So
between Victoria, Tassie, and Adelaide, I think 3 states you got it going.
Will Tassie allow? I don't know. It's all conjecture at the moment, but it's all interesting.
Yes. There's not too many other cheap MIDI options, to be honest, guys, that are really screaming out. Pendlebury's already jumped back up 50K this week, so I mean, it's apart from that,
the score was looking good until say 3/4 time, and then
But there's nothing really there. I think you're better off trying to use some of those DPP options to provide you that flexibility. And then the forward line, I think straight away, if you don't have Dusty, I think his break even is still quite reasonable, guys. Projected to go up even more. And Bolton dropped 22K. What a muppet. Break even now of 156. I still can't believe that. I actually went to bed early that night. I woke up at about 1:30 in the morning, checked my phone, and, it's one of those things where you're looking like, where is he? And then you start from the top and you're like, where's Bolton? Where's Bolton? You get towards the bottom and I'm like, motherfucker. And I literally close my phone and try to go back to sleep.
I headed off to the game last week, and before I left, the wife's gone, what forward should I be looking at? I'm like, get Shy Bolton. The guy's a superstar. Get him in. She's like, why would I want that spud? Why would I want a Richmond dad? You're going to get smashed. And, of course, we knew what happened.
Yeah.
And the biggest problem was, for some reason, we seem to just playing forward most of the game.
Yeah.
And our whole selection, and I've already gone on my one rant today, but, playing 4 rucks in the friggin' rain and then playing Ryan and Dusty like a lot of forward time, it just made no sense last week at all. So I don't know hopefully they go, well, let's move these guys back in the midfield because we need to start winning. But then at the same time, we're playing Gold Coast this week, and the rumour is, we're going to play Samson Ryan and more rookies. So who friggin' knows what's going on at Tigerland. So I hope he comes good this week, but who friggin' knows.
All right, guys, the topic of today is now, do you do whatever you can to get Dane Zucker? Or actually, there's 2 players I want to say that about.
Why would you pay $650K for Dane Zucker?
Because
he just went up 45,000. Is it because I've blessed him? Is that why, Chris? Is this what's happening?
I think it's because you blessed him. And let's have a look.
#blessed.
Let's have that same conversation about a guy called Marcus Montepelli, because those guys are both have their own ball on a string right now. They're on absolute heaters, and I don't have Bont, and every week that I watch him just tear up a team with, like, don't get me wrong, everything he does is contested, which is half the reason why his scores are so good. But that freaking goal, I literally had to turn off the TV because I was so angry about one of the goals of the year. Like, you just go, okay, well, that's too good. I can't compete with that. just like,
see, the difference is, when I watch Dane Zucker, I am actually genuinely happy.
Yeah,
because it's my team. I'm like, you know what? Who cares? And we're playing this game, and again, there's no heart, in these decisions. It's just a statistical point of view that seemed to backfire.
At half time, people walk into the room and they go, "What are you doing?" And you say, "I'm kicking my ass."
Do you mind? or was it Happy Gilmore again? No, Happy Gilmore. Yeah. Talk about your all-time backfires.
I don't know. Look, I don't have the trades, but I think if you do have the trades,
for league,
the trigger.
Yeah, if your leagues don't have him, like if I was playing for league instead of trying to go for overall, I would have kept him 100%.
So 710K for Bont, is it too much?
That is too much. Same as Zorko. Yeah, you can get two guys that are 500 to 550K, and they will score you more than a Zorko and a 350K player or a 400K player probably. And Bont's like a 700 and a 400,000 player. It's too much. If this time of year, too much.
Like, let's say you get Bont and you've got to play CCJ for the rest of the year, or you get CCJ upgraded to who's like low 400s. I mean,
there's nothing in the forward line.
I actually think that might be better. I think Bont and the CCJ might be better because I think you're probably getting the value of a 400K player out of CCJ at the moment.
It all depends on how you went for the year. Like, because you went a lot of value, right? I went all the expensive picks, which is why my midfield looks so good. And then I traded out cheaper options at the end of the year.
It's easy to say don't worry about Bont when you have the Bont.
Well, Bont and Oliver and those guys you don't have, Chris.
Oliver doesn't really.
Yeah, I think Titch was my shittest midfielder.
What we know about Oliver, twice a year he goes huge. The rest of the year he goes...
One more's coming. They're playing Adelaide soon, boys. So,
yeah, I know.
Okay, in the forward line, though, so Dane Zorko, I think he's very expensive. You know who's not expensive? Shy Bolton, boys and girls. Jumping down in price. He's 500,000, break even of 150. So if you're playing leagues, wait for him. Although, I think against Gold Coast this week, down in Victoria, I think he is someone, him and Dusty are outside chances to go 120 plus easy against Gold Coast. Gold Coast are leaking like a sieve.
Yeah, they're not playing great.
And their defense, but even then they were highlighted. Their defense were being selfish. They weren't actually putting in the hard yards, doing the team thing, putting pressure on. They got no spine at the moment, defense. It's like, what do you stand for? You're just trying to get a cheap kick or what?
And I do respect that. I also want to bring up Steele Sidebottom.
Yes.
So we saw
he's
that,
done well.
Yeah, he's moved to a more onto the wing, which is where we know he scores his best. And he was just everywhere on the game on the weekend. Now, is that his position moving forward? I think as long as Taylor Adams stays healthy. You probably see Steele Sidebottom maintain that role, wing half forward, and he'll have a little bit of inside time, of course, because that's what he does. But I think that we'll see more of that moving forward.
Yeah, and a good point of difference as well for leagues, 7.8%.
It could be someone you hold. So I don't think many people are going to trade into him because he's still 500k, but I can see if you're holding him, like a lot of people were looking to upgrade him, I think you hold at this point. So just be mindful of that.
Can you stop tapping the table, mate? You're like rocking the fuck out of it.
Rock the Casbah. What about Langford, mate? He played all right on the weekend.
Yeah, he wasn't starting too well, though. He was on like 30 at halftime or something. I was like, oh, my God.
It's like they released him into the midfield in the second half, hey? Like honestly, didn't see him at all in the first half. And then second half,
that last quarter.
Go away already?
Even then, the last quarter and a half, he actually turned it on quite a lot. And I was like, well, there he is. And look, he got 100, so I'm really happy. He's only 70 points behind Zucker this week. So, what can you do, boys? What can you do? And it's all fun.
He scored more than Green this week, though, so that's all right.
Yes. Well, yeah. Again, we don't claim to be perfect. It's kind of fun to laugh at our fuck ups.
That's true.
We're only human, I mean, Swizz brought in Hawkins 2 weeks ago and broke him. So
yeah. Well, and I knew, and that's the problem is because I was
twice a week below 60, mate. Did you see that?
Geelong,
see those frees against?
All in on Geelong, all in on the friggin' Eagles the last 2 weeks and that. And what the fucking happens? The Eagles get friggin' thrashed from all their in. And the fucking Cats decide not to fucking turn up. I don't know what Tom
That's what you get for selecting a key forward, mate. Really, I do believe it's your fault.
Oh, yeah, it is. But the thing is, other people will look at that now and probably trade him out and watch Hawkins go fucking 150 this week against the Bombers. Yeah, he's going to go fucking massive one of the games.
Depends who's playing, Jekyll or Hyde.
Look, I don't mind. And this is probably the other real big topic here. Dangerfield now under 500,000. He's 495k. Break even now of 100 flat. I think he's someone you could definitely look to bring in, guys. Geelong are getting a few more games out at Cardinia at the moment with COVID.
And what we know is Dangerfield can butcher the football a lot.
And still score 90.
But I would have counted maybe 6-7 clangers in that first half, and he still was on 71 at half time. He was the leading possession winner on the ground, barely playing any midfield time. He can get the ball. He kicks it long. If he can turn his disposal around. Now, there was some conjecture that part of the reason why his disposal is so bad is the syndesmosis injury. It takes a while to build strength back in that ankle, which somehow has an effect on accuracy. I don't know how well that was in the broadcast. I was like, yeah. I mean,
imagine if it helped his kicking.
Well, I was like, do you guys realize Danger was never really a good kick before he had the injury, right? Or was that just me that watched him every week? So look, I again, thinking because of the scope of the scoring power, I just think he's someone you do not want to come up against, especially in league play. But at that price, I don't think there's anyone that can compete with his scoring power. So I think you got to have him.
I think it's an easy in. Yeah. Especially even for Impy owners, it's like, less than 100,000 now to bring him in, isn't it? It's cheap.
Even I would sideways him from Bolton.
I've already got Dangerfield.
I'm just fucking with you.
Bolton will come good. He's just...
I know.
And here's the thing. Probably one of the shittest calls I've made all year where I said Bolton will probably average the same as Zucker. Literally within 1 week, Zucker's averaging 100 more per game.
Yeah, well, we've all made that mistake. Smith, what do you reckon about Danger, mate?
Oh, yeah, no, I got him in last week. And at half time, he was friggin' flying. What was he on, 75 or something at half time?
Yeah, Chris's VC was looking fantastic.
We both VC'd him, didn't we?
Well, I VC'd him as well.
Yeah, I was hating life at the first time.
Yeah, at half time, I was already getting the swap going for it. And then, just absolutely shit. Well, like Geelong shit the bed, and that was it. But
he's still only 10% of teams. Like what a pod. 10% of teams. Like I know he'll probably be in a lot more this week, but 10%.
No, I'll give you a better pod here, boys. Rowan Marshall, 1.4% of sides.
Well, that's because 1.4 is about what he's averaging right now, isn't it?
But give him a little bit of continuity. He's 464,000. He is a nice, cheap option. His break even's still 162 though, so you could even wait a week. That's how messed up it is.
Before the game, Rats came out and literally said to everyone, "We've got to manage his minutes." So I'm like.
Yeah, he's Nick Nat Nui of St Kilda.
That's exactly what's happened. We obviously played the extra ruck because we were worried about him. He was the difference, but he was the difference because it allowed Ryder to rest more. get his rest in, and then Ryder could get around the ground. So I'm actually expecting Ryder to do much better over the next 3 or 4 weeks. Marshall will probably take a couple of weeks to get himself right.
Well, proven by the fact that he still scored 0.9 points per minute and got 68. So it's not like his scoring capability is still not there. We know that. It's just we've got to wait for his minutes to come up.
That's exactly it. So it's going to take a couple of weeks for that to happen. But yeah, so at 162, I don't expect him to go anywhere near that break even this week. So he's going to drop maybe 30, 40, possibly even 50K. So yeah, that's one for those who especially have a few trades up their sleeve. Next week or the week after, you could be picking him up for 400,000, and he's a good, especially those who have a DPP in a for the rucks. So that it's a good cover just in case something happens. But Grundy and Gawn are looking very settled there. So
speaking of nice cheap options here, boys, Isaac Heaney has done the roller coaster of a lifetime. He starts off at a premium price, drops down to bugger all. Everyone goes up 400,000, like, yeah, jump on Heaney. Or now he's back to 365K. He's literally the yo-yo master. He had 3 good rounds. Well,
we said that his injury is affecting him, and they just keep playing him. They're like, oh, don't worry about it.
Well, he went good for 3 rounds, and everyone's like, yeah, and then he's gone back to averaging 51.3 over the last 3.
Just before we move on, who you could sideways to Marshall is Bolton.
That's so funny. Last time I heard that, I laughed so hard I fell off my dinosaur.
Oh, I really hope Bolton goes bad again so I can shed you on next week's pod.
Hey, that's
just
okay.
For lols, because I actually do like the Bolton pick, just so everyone's aware. But anything that makes me laugh with Ben is good to me. It's
Chris, I will sleep just fine at night with my Bontempelli and Clayton Oliver highlights.
That's true.
And thinking of all the things that Chris doesn't have.
Man.
The other option as well for leagues, if you're after someone with a potential high ceiling and he is dirt cheap, would be Jack Darling. Now, I know this is not the best decision in the world, but he is literally extremely cheap. Now, the only thing that hurts is the fact that West Coast are probably, traveling and not playing at home. But Darling was at one point averaging 95 or something or other with a nice start to the year.
We've seen him do this, he
goes,
can go on runs.
Yeah.
So it's not beyond him.
For leagues though, so Sydney this week, then they have North, Adelaide, Saints, Collingwood, Melbourne will be a harder one, and then Fremantle, Brisbane. There's no reason for in this final series or leading up to it, Adelaide, Saints, North, he could actually be a nice little difference, and his price is only 325K. So that's not, I think that's 50,000 on top of a CCJ.
Yeah, and he's actually looking to drop even more.
Yeah, and break even at 95. But look, I'm not saying it's a great idea, but if you are literally scraping the bottom of the barrel, I think, for 300,000 or thereabouts, I think Darling could actually win you some games coming in.
I don't mind that for teams that they're running a... You could even definitely have him as a cheeky F7.
Just loophole him and Heaney. One of them's got to go above 50, right?
If you have Heaney, that's a sideways, mate. I'd rather have Darling than Heaney.
Bank 50K, yeah. So, but that's...
No, but it is a fair point that you make, Ben, because you're only looking for that 7 weeks. The perfect world, with 5 weeks to go is sort of when you want to bring somebody like this in where you think you can get 3, 4 good games out of them. And some of those, especially those key position players, with the right draw, can get on the run, as we've seen with him. And there's plenty of others. I know a couple have talked about Will Day, just with the way the Hawks
he's played well.
Lining up at the moment.
He's playing so fantastic.
Especially with Impey gone, it's like...
Exactly. So he's another cheaper one in that sort of bracket where you might go, well, I can get 6 good weeks out of Will Day. Cheap price, going to have the role. I think he went, 125 on the weekend. So he's not going to do that every week, but, he could definitely do a 90 or 95 coming on the run home there.
Well, the difference between them two, though, it's like with Impey in the side and then with Impey not in the side, it's like night and day. They're completely separate.
I see what you did. I will say that this week, defensively, the structure behind the ball for Hawthorn was brilliant.
He went 112, sorry.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Between him and Scrimshaw, they just cut off everything that was going forward there. And Denver Granger Barras, I tell you what, he's going to be a player. He was absolutely outstanding with them. Unfortunately, he had
concussion.
But
keeper leagues, boys, keeper leagues.
An absolute hanger
Oh,
And then
disallowed. Yeah, free kick.
disallowed with a free against. From
It was a soft free anyway, like lightly over the shoulder. I'm like,
It
bullshit.
wasn't even him. It was a
No, I know.
teammate.
Pay the mark, hey, pay the mark.
He would have been ropeable.
But anyway, so final thing on these cheaper options, I think a couple of years ago I did Jack Rewald, I think was about 280k. I jumped on him. He got a 200 against Gold Coast. A couple of years ago as well, I got Hawkins, I think real cheap, and he went on like a run of 150, and that's where he hit these big games. So people that have the ceiling and the capability, if they're cheap enough, you can't do much worse than hit and hope sometimes.
Well, that's why I like the Jack Darling pick, because he still has in that run, still has North, still has Adelaide, still has Saints.
Yep.
And Pies have been decent defensively, but Freo put 91 on them last week, so they're changing their game plan. They're being, trying to take the game on a little bit more, which is leaving them more vulnerable behind the ball, and they don't have Darcy Moore there to cut it off.
Correct. Yep.
So yeah, there could be some heavy scores against them in the coming weeks. So it's all interesting. I don't mind a key forward strategy if you've got those sort of teams in your next few rounds. I do agree with Swizz though, is that you don't really want to take it this early if you can avoid it. And then try and get it a little bit closer to the end of the season.
Finals. Yep.
Yeah, or Supercoach finals.
All right.
Hey, because you want to have a look at that fixture and stuff. Like Brad Shepherd, for example, that's another guy. Depends. Yeah, the forwards seem to be more of an issue, but he went 112 on the weekend, but he had that -1 injury game. So he's going to be around that 300,000 mark come next week. And then he has North Melbourne, Adelaide, St Kilda again, as Ben said about Darling. So there's a few guys like that just because they've had injuries who you normally wouldn't think about in Supercoach, because you're like, okay, they're not going to be a top 10 player person. But if you only need them for a month or 5 weeks with that last trade, the last couple of trades, they're a perfect option.
Yeah, I completely agree.
What are you guys thinking for VCs and C this week? It's going to be an interesting round. For me, any Tuke Miller owners should probably put the VC on him against Richmond. Talking about midfielders scoring well. Even a Dusty Martin could be a nice little VC as far as I think Gold Coast leak a lot of points to forwards. So, and then I'll let you boys go into the obvious with the end of round.
Yeah, look, obviously there's, I can't do what you're doing, but I agree. Lockie Neal, I think, is a absolute lock for VC this week. If you have Lockie Neal, there is some other options. Obviously, with Richmond playing Gold Coast, you could take someone like Dusty to hope that he punches something out. Danger again against Essendon. Hopefully he gets more CBAs, but you think that there's a big one coming. Essendon aren't going to tag at all, so he's going to have a free reign there. I wouldn't recommend going the opposite way and going either a Merritt or a Parish, because the Marco Connor tag is real, and that's going to put some pressure on there. I also wouldn't do Oliver.
No to Clary. Gorn maybe against Flynn, but I imagine Mummy will be back.
I think they held back Mummy for
this
one week, for this week.
Yeah, me too. So I wouldn't go there. The reason I don't mind Neil, even though with the if a jarred shoulder, depending on how he looks, etc. But Adelaide, if they lose Sloan, there's another big midfielder gone. So it's literally going to be Keys and Laird. Laird's going to be running around hoping not to get tagged anyway. So, or Lyons as well would be another good one who's fit, fresh, just signed a contract.
The problem with Lyons is that right now I think he's like a 120 guarantee, whereas this week I think you want a 140 because the Sunday game's just so obvious.
Yeah,
but
Lyons could pump out a 140, but you're right, he's not going a 160 or above. So,
what about yourself, Swizz?
Well, as a smoky is Tommy Stewart against the Bombers. He's not going to play that bad against Smashers.
Can I just say, the highlight of my Supercoach weekend was watching Tom Stewart be a spud. Because again, another guy that I don't have, and he was scaled up in the end. I think he got like 5 possessions in the last, 10 minutes of the game, and they're all like loose ball gets or intercept possessions, and that's why he got up to. I think he got up to 68, didn't he? In the end or something? It
was pretty bad.
58.
He was on 25 for most of the game, giving away free kicks, giving away 50-meter penalties, not getting suspended. That would have been hilarious.
He also scored 14 more than Bolton.
What do you actually think, guys? The difference between Tom Stewart and Zach Williams this week in terms of Zach Williams gets a week for doing an almost identical thing that Tom Stewart did, and Tom Stewart doesn't even get
Zach Williams was on the AstroTurf, so it was instantly 10%.
Only difference.
Yeah.
Only difference.
10% more dangerous on the AstroTurf, mate. A little bit more force.
Are you supposed to know that, are you?
I don't know. I'm just... literally, the difference is I own one of them in Supercoach. So you would be livid.
You're right. That was the only difference between the two, and they always do outcome and potential for injury. And because the AstroTurf's more potential for injury, he tops weeks and Stewart doesn't. It's the exact same action. There's absolutely no difference. You'd be splitting hairs between what both did. But, yeah, they're just that potential to cause more damage is what they go on.
I would say that Stewart had a case of the Hawkins.
He got let off pretty well.
But back onto the vice captain thing, and that if anybody watched the Melbourne Essendon game, the Bombers bombed the ball all day to Lever and May. Because, young Jones, as good as he's coming along and he's shown some good signs, they don't have the top key forwards like some of the other clubs do. So watch Stewart just zone off this week, and I think he'll bounce back in a big way. So I'm very tempted for the VC off him because he's done a 150, a 130 this year and that, and I could see him doing very similar against the Bombers.
Would you go McRae or Bontempelli for the C?
You could go either way. I feel like it's nearly splitting hairs between both of them as well. I think you've got to back Bont him just the way he's going, but McRae's a solid 130. I don't see him doing much different against North. You know what you're getting. Bont could be anything, so those are Bont. Naturally, got to back him in. I like Jack Steele. I just think he's in such great form. Even playing the Pies. He's just getting the job done. He's clearly St Kilda's best player. So if you wanted someone who you know is going to go 130, Steele's an option. But yeah, either way, McRae, Steele or Bont are the three for the Sunday.
I feel like saying Gold Coast are the new North at the moment. As far as a team that's low on confidence and losing a lot of the pie, I think Gold Coast are getting absolutely flogged.
If there was a clear Richmond option.
Yeah, correct.
Like you'd
Bolton?
lock in a visa. Yeah. I mean, potential 120. Shorty's got a potential 120. Dusty, but there's not like a clear Bont style option against the Gold Coast.
The thing I will say with Bontempelli and McRae, the scores, I think Bont got like 82, McRae got a 108 last time they played North at the start of the year, and that was when North were getting flogged. But Dunkley was also in that mix, tearing up a lot of that pie, and they could just coast through for 100 and monster score. So for me, I think Bont's on an absolute heater. I think he's gone 125 or thereabouts, 9 out of his last 10 games. I think he's
the matchup. I don't know who's matching up with him.
Me either.
Because obviously Cunnington's probably going to go head-to-head with Blibber. So who's matching up on Bont? And then what does that leave McRae? I think McRae probably goes with Simpkin. So, yeah, I don't know who he's playing on. Like, I got no idea.
Yeah.
But Dumont, he's not
And I might even just put the C on Bont just to piss Chris off this week, hopefully. So
I think you got it. If I didn't have Bont, if I had Bont, I'd be captaining Bont this week.
If for some reason anybody out there if you have captains for say your draft leagues, put on friggin' it's a shame for the last game, so I'd say put on Aaron Norton because North will have 6 defenders on Josh Bruce because there's no way they're letting him kick 10 again.
No, he's going to go 12 this week for sure.
Yeah, possible. Look, that wraps us up, guys. We've got to get out of here. Chris, you've got to get out, mate. Lockdown's about to happen in 2 minutes, so
Yay.
Time to get you home, my friend.
All
and
right.
Swizz, thanks for joining us for the impromptu. And for everyone else out there, let us know your thoughts. Keep the fun time, the banter going if you're an Oliver owner and Bontempelli for this guy. Or if you see Zucker absolutely tear up against Adelaide, which is going to happen, then give it to me. Or Josh Kelly. We've missed Josh Kelly as well.
Yeah, 103. Still managed a ton.
And if Hawkins goes bad, give it to the old Swizz master there.
All right, guys. Thanks very much. Have a good one.
Alrighty, bye.
Cheers, boys.